Tonight, I've got a Christmas tale for you, I suppose. A Christmas story. It's not in New Mexico, but it takes place mostly in the Southwest. The Southwest of the United States. So kind of a Southwesty Christmas story, if you will. The story begins with this young lady here on the left, featured here with her sister and her father. Her name was Iris. Bright lady. Grew up in a somewhat progressive household, from what I can gather. And I think that'd be kind of hard to argue once we get more into the story. Don't know too much about her younger years, her family life, but what we do know is that in 2009, she went to some kind of seminar, and she met this man by the name of Milan Ross. Not much of a looker, especially compared to her. It seems kind of an odd couple. But for whatever reason, they hit it off and got married rather quickly. Again, doesn't seem to really add up. You look at this and you're just kind of scratching your head. I know I was when I was doing the research. But she made a lot of money. She worked in the healthcare industry, I think in cancer. And so it didn't really matter too much to her that he didn't really have a job. So not only did he look like that, he didn't have any money. He didn't have a job really to speak of. He did odd jobs. He didn't have a nice place. He didn't have a nice car. Who knows, right? Who knows? But because she was the breadwinner, she didn't care. She was going to take care of him. She was going to be the sugar mama. And he kind of lucked out. He lucked out big time because she was not only going to pay for him, but she was going to pay for him to live in one of the fanciest suburbs in America. One of the fanciest suburbs in America. They got married in Houston, Texas, and she said, you know what, I'm going to move us to Highlands Ranch, Colorado. Highlands Ranch, Colorado, which seems to be, from what I've looked into, it's probably the most concentrated douchebag millennial neighborhood in America. I say this because when I tried to look up the neighborhood, well, this is the kind of stuff that popped up when I was just doing some basic research. And then we'll look at the statistics that kind of confirm this.
How we doing? This is Destination Denver, Colorado, and today, living in Highlands Ranch, Colorado, the good, the bad, the ugly, and we're covering it starting right now.
Hey guys, we are here in Highlands Ranch. Today we're gonna go over shopping, schools, recreation activities. Really excited about this video, guys, because you're probably sick of my awkwardness. We have some special guests today to tell us why they love living here in Highlands Ranch.
Have you considered making the move to Highlands Ranch, Colorado? Well, you will not be the first person. It is a very, very popular neighborhood to move here in the Colorado Denver metro area. So if that's something that you're interested in, today we're going over anything and everything, and I'm really breaking it down on a full map tour here in just a second. So keep on watching.
Highlands Ranch is one of the most searched for cities around the Denver metro area that people are considering moving to. So in this video today, we're going to take a deep dive through everything that you want to know about Highlands Ranch. So if you've been thinking about moving here or you want to relocate around the Denver area, this video is for you.
What is going on, beautiful people? I hope you are all having a fantastic day. It is a beautiful day out here in Colorado. We have a nice blue clear skies today and a little snow on the ground. We had a little snow squall on Monday. I think it was Tuesday actually. You know, it was completely clear at like 7 in the morning, and then it just snowed like crazy for like 2 hours. And by the afternoon, sun came out, pretty much everything else was melted by the end of the night. So you can still see a little bit of snow left over, but sometimes that happens here in Colorado. Today we are in the beautiful Highlands Ranch, Colorado.
All right, y'all, right behind me, right back here, this intersection, this street right here is University, and that is where Colorado Boulevard basically turns into Highlands Ranch Boulevard. I just scared the crap out of the squirrel. And this spot right here is very much like the commercial hub of the Highlands Ranch neighborhood. And if you've been watching these videos, you may know that I love the Whole Foods. I love access to a Starbucks. If I'm living in the suburbs, give me a Whole Foods, give me a Starbucks.
So it's douchebag millennial central. In fact, let's take a look at some of the statistics. Its population of Highlands Ranch is predominantly white. And when I say predominantly white, and this might sound not as high as it should, but it's for, this is now, okay? This is right now. It's 84% white. It's 84% white. It's about 7% Asian. It's more Asian than it is Mexican, which is only 6% Mexican, and it's 1% black. So yes, is it super douchey? Absolutely. Is it super gay and lefty? Absolutely. Is it full of fags that love going to Starbucks and Whole Foods and complain about racial injustice while living in a 84% white neighborhood? Absolutely. It's the worst kind of white people, but it's still white people. And so the crime is crazy low, and the median income is insanely high. In fact, the median income, this is the average. This means that on the bell curve, the average is $132,000 a year. That's the average income in Highlands Ranch. So it's a fairly wealthy neighborhood outside of Denver, Colorado. Now this was, like I said, this is like a dream come true for Mylan Ross. Mylan Ross finds this white chick who's going to pay for him to live in this white utopia that's only 1% black. I mean, in fact, him living there might have been what made it 1% black when they did it. He didn't have any skills, though, and didn't have a job or bring anything to the table. So, well, there's a Whole Foods right there. He got a job at the Whole Foods. He decided to work at Whole Foods and bragged to his fellow employees that, hey, you know, this is, I actually live in this neighborhood, because most of the employees, obviously, the average income is $132,000 a year. So you're not making that kind of money at Whole Foods. So if you work at Whole Foods, you're either like a kid who lives at their parents' house in the neighborhood, or you're driving across town to go work at the fancy schmancy Whole Foods in Highlands Ranch. So they decide to settle there. They have a kid and hilariously name him Nigel. Interesting choice, I guess. And he would often bring his wife and son into the Whole Foods. And this is Mylan Ross we're talking about, would bring in little Nigel and Iris into the Whole Foods. And on his days off, they said that he would go in there for hours sometimes. And to the other employees, it seemed weird. They said that it almost seemed like he was trying to show off the fact that he had this beautiful, wealthy white woman. And despite him bragging about his income and his ability to live in this neighborhood and bringing his fancy white woman into the store, his manager said that his till, his register, was still short on a regular enough basis to where they had to, there was disciplinary actions against him. You know, I guess it's hard to shake old habits, right? Even when everything's nice and taken care of for you. Mylan would also invite lots of the other employees, the younger employees especially, over to the home for parties. The employees that used to work with him said that it was a little bit strange because he would invite all the employees over to a party. They'd show up, everyone's getting high and drinking, and he just seemed to be there once again, showing off, like, look where I live. Look at my house. Look at my white woman. And that he actually wouldn't party that much or have a good time. He seemed to not actually enjoy it so much as he enjoyed the fact that people could see his house. That is not Biggie Smalls. That is Mylan Ross. Now, Mylan Ross, as he got fatter and fatter, because he had snagged the perfect situation with this woman, began to worry about his weight when, according to a story that he tells in a documentary later on, he went to a theme park, I think it was Disneyland, or maybe it was Universal Studios or something, with his wife and son Nigel, and they went to go on a Harry Potter ride, and after they waited in line and they finally got to the front of the ride, they wouldn't let him on because he was too fat. And that's when he decided he had to make a change, because he was too fat to go on a amusement park ride with his son. Now, lucky for him, Whole Foods would offer seminars for free. they had like or I guess they do have, a book section where they sell vegan recipes and vegan lifestyle books and all kinds of healthy eating guru books and that sort of a thing. And one of the, I guess, benefits of being a Whole Foods employee is when some of these authors would come to town and offer seminars or whatever, Whole Foods would pay for you to go to these seminars if you wanted to go to one of these seminars. And so that is how he would meet Dr. Stoll in October of 2013. So in October of 2013, he went to one of these seminars. He went to the Dr. Stoll Immersion Program. And in fact, this one wasn't even local. He was in Naples, Florida, so he got kind of a whole trip out of it. They flew him out to Florida, and he learned about vegan eating and a plant-based diet. He decided that that would be the way to go, and weighing in at north of 500 pounds, this is going to sound unrealistic until you realize he weighed more than 500 pounds. In the first week, he lost 30 pounds, which again, if you weigh over 500 pounds, that's actually mostly water weight, because, you know, you're 500 fucking pounds. That's you got a lot of water weight there to deal with. When he lost 30 pounds, though, he was so stunned that he decided to stick with it. This is when he's about halfway through it, and then he eventually loses over half of his body weight, gets all the way down to 200 pounds in just about over a year, which is insane. That's almost like, it's over a pound a day, I think, for like a full year. So he really went for it. Really, really went for it. Now, of course, because of this success, Dr. Stoll now had exactly what he wanted, right? He had a success story. Here's this guy that went to one of his seminars and followed his program and went from this to this. That's pretty impressive. That's a good selling point. So they partnered up and wrote a book, which really means probably that Dr. Stoll wrote a book and slapped Mylan Ross's name on it, or neither one of them wrote the book and a ghostwriter wrote the book. So things started to look up for Mylan. His wife, Iris, got a job in Phoenix, Arizona, working at a hospital as an administrator for, again, I think it had something to do with cancer. Mylan was starting to become a little bit of a celebrity for losing all the weight. The book did quite well. Here's a crappy little video I found of the release party. You can tell that's in Phoenix because they got the, what are those called? Palo Verde tree in the background. Oh, look at that. Really fancy. Milan Ross launch party and book release. Oh, fancy, fancy. So anyway, in fact, you can still get his book. It's on Amazon. It's fairly decently rated, I guess. The Change. Transforming yourself and your body into the person you want to be. He also wrote another book, a recipe book that kind of went over the different recipes he would use in his vegan diet to satisfy his cravings, because he said he was really a big foodie. He liked things like hamburgers and things that had meat in them. So he was really big on pushing like these meat substitutes, these soy-based products, these, I can't believe it's not burgers or whatever these, bug meat probably, or maybe not bug meat, right, if he's a vegan. And so everything was looking good. Everything was looking good. Nigel was growing up, and to be a gay drama kid, and, they had the nice little progressive mixed-race family with the wife, the wife wearing the pants, making all the money, but the token black husband, charismatic, and now becoming, lowercase celebrity, a little bit famous. He launched a website to sell his book. This is his website from, I think, 2016. Started doing seminars, started doing motivational speaking. Here he is pushing one of his books. He was even featured in a documentary from 2016 made by James Cameron, featuring people like Penn Jillette and Samuel L. Jackson, talking about eating vegan and plant-based diets and how there's poison in the foods. I'm sure JFK Jr. would fully approve of this documentary. It's called Eating You Alive. Here he is, featured in this documentary.
In June of 2013, my wife Iris and I decided to take my then 6-year-old son for his birthday to Florida. 2 weeks prior to the trip, my son and I went through online and looked at all the rides, and he decided that the Harry Potter ride was the most epic ride in the history of rides, and he wanted me to ride it with him. And if you've ever been on a ride, they have a sample of the seating as you approach the ride platform. One of the people that worked there asked me to step out of line to try the seating. As soon as I sat down, it was apparent that this wasn't gonna happen. It was his birthday. Sorry. He begged, he cried, and I couldn't fit. My wife practically drug him onto the ride. And in that moment, I realized that I couldn't live like that anymore.
So he was too fat for Harry Potter. And that was the impetus. That was the trigger moment, I guess, for him. Made him change his life. And so he did. He also got featured in lots of local news. Now that he was in Phoenix, he's featured in this James Cameron documentary. He's starting to get, somewhat of a little bit of a local celebrity status as a result of his dramatic weight gain. People like those kinds of stories. That's why you have shows like The Biggest Loser and just, America's super fat. So Americans like fat people stories if they have a happy ending especially. And look, he was perfect for the propaganda machine. Not only was he a success story when it came to being Biggie Smalls, getting down to, a skinny level, but, he's got this interracial family and they're kind of lefty and everything. I mean, he's fucking perfect.
It's Weight Loss Wednesday, an inspirational story about how a Valley man changed his life, literally.
At his heaviest, Mylan Ross was 518 pounds.
What?
He turned to a vegan lifestyle, has lost more than 300 pounds. Not only did he improve his personal health, but he strengthened and improved his relationship with his own family.
Team 12's Rachel Cole caught up with him to learn how he did it.
Life is looking good for Mylan Ross these days. At 45, he's never felt better.
I've lost more weight than I weigh now, which is crazy.
3.5 years ago, Mylan tipped the scales at more than 500 pounds.
I ate a lot of junk food.
The turning point came during a family trip to Universal Studios when Mylan was told he was too big to fit on the Harry Potter ride his son so desperately wanted to enjoy for his birthday.
He started crying. In that moment, I learned that the decisions I was making didn't just affect me.
So he took an immersion program offered to Whole Foods employees where for a week he learned how a plant-based vegan diet could change his life. Today, he's 200 pounds and has shed more than half his body weight.
Whoa, amazing story. And he sounds like he's a good dad. That's what motivates him, right? He's this great father. He's driven. And again, like this started to lead to more and more media outlets wanting to interview him and promote his book and promote his lifestyle, his vegan lifestyle.
The picture says it all. His old waistline, large enough to fit him and his son. Mylan's weight loss success has led to magazine covers, syndicated shows, 2 best-selling books, and he travels the country inspiring others. Mylan says he feels like he's won the lottery. He has his health back and it's strengthened his relationship with his son.
I used to have to sit in a chair in the middle of our yard, to play catch with my son because I couldn't stand a walk for more than 5 or 10 minutes. I coach my son's teams now. The freedom to live life to the fullest and take that Harry Potter ride with his son that changed their lives.
Buddy, how was that?
That was amazing.
Was it worth 4 years, buddy?
Oh, it's amazing. Then they went back and they rode on that Harry Potter ride to show the world that you can accomplish anything if you put your mind to it. Anything you want. Well, the problem was he really wasn't getting as successful as he wanted to, but he was getting just a taste. He was getting this taste of fame, but despite his charisma, despite his interesting story, people don't want to hear about the same story about the guy who got skinny over and over and over again. I mean, they want different people. They want to show different transformation. The before and after is a spectacle, but it's a spectacle only for a few moments. It's really only for a few moments when you look at the before and after picture and say, wow, holy shit, he went from that to that? That's crazy. But that can't continue to be your identity forever unless you I mean, that'll get you your foot in the door, right? That'll launch your career, but you have to have something more than that to offer people for them to want to keep caring. And unfortunately, Milan, again, despite his apparent charisma and his interesting story and his connections that he made with people who were established in the vegan community, like Dr. Stoll, or his connections he made in Hollywood, working with James Cameron and Samuel L. Jackson and a handful of other celebrities who produced the documentary he was featured in 2016. He was struggling to grow beyond that. And even though he put off this image of success, his wife was still the breadwinner. His wife was still bringing home the majority of the money. He would make a YouTube channel and try to push his ideas with these cringy, like this is from his YouTube channel, a cringy trailer he made because he wanted to produce his own show and syndicate his own show. And as you see, there's a lot of narcissism, right? The one thing I noticed in researching this guy is, obviously, look, if you're selling the idea that you went under some transformation, I get it. You can have lots of pictures of yourself because you're trying to sell the idea that you got skinny and look at me now, right? I get it. Okay. But a lot of it kind of came across as, a little douchey, which I guess all that kind of stuff kind of does, but this seemed to have like an extra layer of douche to it. And this trailer is a good example of that. Another thing I noticed was a lot of the images that he would use in his media talking about, I'm doing this life coaching stuff and I'm doing these seminars or whatever. He was recycling like the same 4 to 5 pictures over and over and over again. So again, I just don't think that he really did a lot of speaking engagements. It's hard to really figure out exactly how much he was doing. But I think that he did a couple and then really went over the top with trying to sell this idea, this image that he was this successful health guru. And this is all happening in a relatively short period of time. We're talking, when he went to go for that ride, when he was fat, he was, I think this was 20, what'd they say in it was like 2013, or 2013 is when he started the diet. And all this stuff is just 3 years later. So it took like a year and a half for him to get skinny. So he's only been skinny for like a year and a half. And he's pushing this idea that he's, this kind of health guru, when it really is, he's just a fat guy that lost a lot of weight about a year ago. So the idea that he's out there doing all this motivational speaking stuff, I think was a little bit exaggerated. But all the same, the local news didn't care. It's not like, he lived in Phoenix. He didn't live in like New York or LA. So it's not like it was that hard to get on local TV and get featured. Again, it's the same feel-good story over and over and over again. My son wanted us to go on this ride, and I was too fucking fat, and then I got skinny.
So much my eyebrows are up here.
4 years ago, Milan Ross was turned away from this same Universal Studios Harry Potter ride on his son's birthday. The reason being too big. Humiliated and crushed that he disappointed his son Nigel, he decided to change his ways. Now, he's 300 pounds lighter and his son's hero.
How did it feel to finally go on that Harry Potter ride with your dad?
Wow. I just remember feeling almost overwhelmed. Both of us were in tears almost.
Oh, Daddy, this
was amazing.
It was amazing. But again, it's just, that's his whole story. And he can try to make it sound really big and inspirational.
I'm just one person, but there's millions of me out there.
But unless you have anything more than just this feel-good story, you're going to kind of be dead in the water. You're not going to really be able to capitalize on anything unless you have more you can bring to the table. Now, look, he got some endorsement deals. He became the official spokesman for some vegan brands I'd never heard of before. So it's not as if, he didn't make a little bit of money, but he didn't make a ton of money. And then trouble came his way.
The two women say Anthony Milan Ross abandoned a previous family in Missouri and kept them a secret from his children and his wife right here in Phoenix.
They tell Team 12's Jessica DeNova that they endured a monstrous childhood. Jessica?
Oh, secret family? That's never good. So, turns out he was married to a woman in Georgia and had 4 kids. It was a black woman in Georgia, had 4 black kids when he met Iris. And when he met Iris, he just up and abandoned the family, pretended like they never existed. His ex-wife, unable to find him, eventually legally divorced him, conveniently enough for him, I think months before he married legally Iris. But they just didn't know where he went. He just disappeared. Now, this news story came out way after the fact, way after Iris found out. It wasn't in the news that Iris found out. Iris found out because one of his daughters reached out to him and said, "Hey, you're married to my dad." Iris had no idea that he had a previous marriage. Iris had no idea that he had 4 kids, and it was kind of a shock to her to hear these stories.
Counseling and therapy, that's how these sisters say they moved past the abuse they claim they suffered at the hands of Anthony Milan Ross. Though he ran from his past and perhaps suppressed an evil inside him, his daughters say it's clear his mental and behavioral issues came back to haunt him and the family he lied to for years.
Kept us a secret, a dark, dirty secret.
That family, 4 girls and a wife, abandoned in Missouri back in 2003. Court documents show their mother, Nicole Ross, filing for divorce in St. Louis 5 years later. Her earnest, diligent attempts to locate him unsuccessful. Anthony Milan Ross would go on to marry Iris Sutherland in 2009.
Between 4 and 7 years into their marriage, Iris discovered that Milan had a previous marriage and that he had abandoned and to be with Iris. And Iris felt the breach was that she didn't have a choice.
Iris was very upset, and this is what happened. But at first, it didn't seem to really rock the marriage to the extent that you would think. You would think most women would find that out about their husband, and that would be like, holy shit, that's kind of a big deal. This is, I don't know how this is going to work. But Iris really wanted to work things out, especially now. I mean, think of the context. This is around 2017. You had the BLM stuff starting to happen. You had, she can't divorce a black man. This is one of Milan Ross's daughters, the one that said that it's weird that he's famous for food because he used to starve us. In fact, and you saw the pictures of him being Biggie Smalls, back when he was married to her mother, and he looked like Biggie Smalls, apparently one of the ways in which he would torture his kids is he would starve them for days and then eat chili dogs in front of them and blow the scent of the chili dog in their face. I don't know. I'm trying to picture that. I'm trying to picture him like, this Biggie Smalls looking motherfucker with a bag full of chili dogs, blowing chili dog aroma into the face of his kids. He also apparently was very physically abusive, beat them severely. In fact, they had to stay home from school for days waiting for some of the more apparent wounds to heal so they would not raise any suspicions with the teachers. So he was a monster. He was a monster that met a white woman, felt like he hit the lottery, and, look, if you see the rest, what happened later, he kind of did, right? He kind of did. So she got into contact with Iris. Again, they kept going. In fact, Iris got pregnant with another child, not too far, I guess, it would have been 2016, so kind of while all this was going on. Maybe this was, I don't know the exact timeline. It's kind of hard to get an exact timeline on all of these things, but it might have been you could even say maybe this was Myron's way, or Milan, I don't know. It's spelled like Milan, but I think they keep saying Milan. Maybe this was Milan's way of, it's almost like the opposite of sperm jacking. He's planting that seed to keep the white woman around. But it, again, featured here in these vegan magazines. But unfortunately, once the beautiful baby was born, she filed for divorce. She filed for divorce in February of 2017, and I think this is where it got finalized in September of 2017. Or, that's the rough timeline. 2017, we'll say. Mid-2017 to into late 2017. This right here says September 2017. Now, at first, the divorce seemed kind of friendly. In fact, because even though Milan was trying to push this career of being a wonderful food guru and speech giver, this motivational speaker, this life coach, he also wasn't, again, making a whole lot of money. In fact, at the time of the divorce, she was making over $130,000 a month, I think close to $200,000 a month. And he was only making $30,000 a month. Or I'm sorry, she was making a year. She was making, I think, around $200,000 a year. And he was making $30,000 a year. And which is like nothing. In fact, he might have made that when he was working at Whole Foods. You can make 30 grand a year at Whole Foods, especially now. You could have done that years ago. So with inflation and everything, it's probably even easier. The marriage or the divorce settlement, in fact, included she had to pay him. She had to pay him $750 a month in spousal support after the divorce because the income was so uneven. But on its face, it was very friendly. They seemed to get along. They didn't go through any kind of weird legal struggle when it came to the custody. They were very, casual about it, dropping the kids off. She wanted, he'd been, despite the story she had heard about his previous secret family, he'd been a good father. He was now, again, like his image was of this very positive guy, this very, motivational guy, and he seemed to really love his son. That's the whole, his origin story, right, is that the love of his son is what drove him to improve himself. So he had this image, at least publicly, that might have also have existed privately, of being this guy who was a good father. So they were very casual about how they separated things up and how they shared custody with their kids. Everything seemed relatively happy. Even with Iris, she's a single mom. But again, she's kind of like the quintessential liberal white woman. She doesn't have any of the support of a religious community. She doesn't believe in patriarchy, and so therefore she doesn't have any of the support of a patriarchy that probably would have warned her against marrying him in the first place. And you can kind of see this lack of a theology or any kind of connection to meaning in her life if you look at some of her old Facebook posts. For example, it's very basic bitch stuff, but this is, I think, it's because this is kind of a pandemic, if you will, among white women. There's a lot of white women that are kind of just rudderless because they reject the patriarchy, and because the patriarchy, in effect, because of the rejection for decades, sort of ceased to exist. It kind of dissolved. If people stop coming and buying what you're selling, eventually the company goes out of business. And that's kind of what happened with the patriarchy. Patriarchy was there in place to serve both men and women, society at large, keep everything under control and regulate certain things. But as they lost customers, the institution kind of just evaporated like a Blockbuster video. So that's kind of what happened with the patriarchy. She didn't have any kind of religious connection, and so she started to embrace stupid internet gurus, which might have been the kind of thing that attracted to her to Milan in the first place. The fact that he had like a similar personality, that he was kind of like this self-help guru even when she first met him. And that's what he turned into as soon as he lost all the weight. That's because that's maybe who he was. Here's it's just like it's like the total basic bitch Instagram kind of a post she posted. the example we set for our kids, how to act when things don't go our way. I mean, in fact, this is like total single mom porn, is much, much more important than the rules we set for them. Yeah, like rules don't matter. Don't set rules. Just, just be chill when things are bad. I mean, it's the perfect, mind poison for single moms. To give you an idea of who this is, I looked him up. This is Leo Baburo. It's another non-white, internet fag, just sitting there like selling self-help to white women.
Hi, I'm Leo Babauta, and this is my YouTube channel. So I started Zen Habits back in 2007, quite a long time ago, and the blog was meant to share my thoughts, share my learnings on my progress on this journey that I'm on.
On my journey? I'm on this journey. I'm going to help you on your journey, girls. Get ready for the journey. Why is everything a fucking journey with these people? Anyway. So again, it's like, I feel like there's a factory out there somewhere mass producing these kinds of white women where they just get sucked up by stupid internet life coach gurus selling Zen coaching and whatever the fuck this guy is selling. Private one-on-one coaching. And it's not like it's crazy because she's making good fucking money. It also it kind of terrifies you, right? Because I have a hard time believing. Yeah, she was a high achiever, right? But this is a perfect example of female high achieving midwit. This is a perfect fucking example of it. She was able to go to the right school and get the right degree, and she knows exactly what answers to regurgitate. She knows exactly what the authority wants from her and how to give it to her, or give it to them. She knows exactly what boxes to check, and she does it, and she's rewarded. And those are the kinds of people that they put into places of power. Power in her situation, it's power at a hospital, but it kind of terrifies you because there's like millions of other white women just like her, working in HR departments, working on the boards of companies, and they're not deep thinkers. They're not stupid, They probably learned, they memorized, a way of behaving in the corporate world that will lead to success, a way of keeping your head down, not rocking the boat, not pushing back on authority, and a way of enforcing, like these diversity things. The reason why that spread, I think, so quickly like a cancer, and why there wasn't a whole lot of pushback, is that's who you got running the show. When I worked as a contractor in Washington, D.C., one of the first things that struck me was just the percentage of women, just like Iris Ross, that were my clients in positions I was not expecting, for clients I was not expecting. For example, we had clients that were like at the DOD, and I'm thinking, well, the DOD, it's Department of Defense, for those of you who are not American, I guess, you expect it to be dudes. I expected to go into these meetings and some square-jawed, grizzled old man, like old white boomer guy, calling the shots, and it was not that at all. It was like blue-haired feminists. It was a room full. There were meetings I went to that was exclusively female. It was mostly white women, a couple Asians, and some randos or whatever. But it was a lot of fucking women at DOD, and not just DOD, all the federal agencies, and it's bureaucrats that I'm dealing with, right? Like I'm making some stupid video for whatever initiative they're trying to push and whatever, right? Like it's just I'm promoting some stupid HR initiative. That was my job basically. Is I'm making some corporate, the equivalent of a corporate video for a federal agency, and it's just the room full of these fucking midwit, highly educated women who would be interchangeable with Iris Ross, who probably, if you look at their Facebook feeds or their Instagram feeds, again, you could swap them around and you wouldn't even notice a difference. Where they just had some surface level, spirituality in terms of how they interfaced with the world and philosophy. They all went to yoga religiously. I'm sure Iris went to yoga religiously. And that's basically, unfortunately, that's the state of a lot of, millennial white women specifically. I guess I should put that in there. That was the other thing, is I was expecting these people I'd be meeting with at these agencies to be, boomers and stuff, like older people. And I was shocked at how a lot of times there'd be like one, but they wouldn't. The boomers, see, this is the funny thing. The boomers, they would technically be the heads of these departments, but that's not who shows up to these meetings. That's who goes and plays golf with the other boomers who were also heads of other departments, and they call it networking. While these millennial midwit women run everything. Like that was my experience in Washington, a big part of it. But again, after the divorce, Milan's still trying to push this image. He's a little bit broken though now, because part of his image was the white woman family. Part of this image was having this basic bitch yoga going lady, right? I mean, he just became even less interesting. I mean, it's bad enough when you don't have a whole lot you can offer beyond, hey, I'm a vegan now, and I lost a lot of weight, but also that family that I was pushing as part of my image. This son that I use as an obvious prop, that I'm constantly, when I'm posting on social media, on my feeds for this endeavor that I have to become some health guru, I'm always, and here's my son. Everyone look at my mixed race son. Well, now it's not so cool, because now he's got a divorce. He's got a secret family that people are probably going to find out about. He's got, he's got problems, and he's not making any money. He's making $30,000 a year, and he's supposed to be this successful guru. So right around the same time his divorce is finalized, he's featured on The Doctors, which is another, again, it's another show that's made exactly for these midwit stupid women. It's exactly the kind of content that's mass produced for midwit white women that go to yoga. And so he goes to be featured on The Doctors. Here he is, again, using his son as a prop. This is that's September of 2017.
Hey guys, this is Mylan and Nigel. We are backstage at the TV show The Doctors. We're so excited. You excited this morning, buddy?
I'm incredibly excited.
Man, we are hanging out in the back lot of
Hollywood
Paramount Studios, and we have the best guide ever to be on the face of the planet. She just giving us a walk around. Nigel, are you excited to be hanging out, man?
So his feed is a lot of these videos with him and his son, and a lot of kind of forced laughter, and him telling his son to say hi to the folks out there. And there's not like a whole lot of people watching these videos. Even now, years later, like some of these videos from 2017 or whatever, during this time period, they haven't even broken 1,000 views. I mean, we have several times over. In fact, the people watching this stream we've probably quadrupled the amount of people that have seen some of these videos already. Because as we'll get into, there's a reason you might not have heard of this guy. So later in 2017 September, he wants to take matters in his own hands. He wants to push a syndicated show called The Mylan Ross Show, and he shoots a pilot. He's in talks with some producers, the people who did The Biggest Loser, I think it was, or maybe it's My 600-Pound Life, or one of these stupid weight loss shows, trying to pitch another show, but it's not exactly, people aren't really.
Swish this special liquid in your mouth before bed to rebuild your teeth and gums while you sleep. Did you?
Biting. And in fact, speaking of videos with not a whole lot of views, here's just one of his YouTube, we're not going to watch the whole thing, obviously, but here's one of his YouTube videos from around that same era. I think this had 200 views or something like that when I checked it out.
Good morning, it's Mylan Ross, and I'm about to get my morning workout in. I'm here in my home gym.
So he's not really, it's not really working out for him. His wife's leaving him. He's not getting the recognition he thinks he deserves. He's not getting any money. But again, things are still kind of friendly. He still has lots of opportunity. Maybe things will work out. And then Christmas rolls around. Christmas 2017. He posts this on Christmas Day, where he has his kids over. He not only has his son, who I believe is 11 or something like that at this time. He also has his daughter, who is less than a year old. I think she's like 11 months or 10 months old. So he's got his infant daughter for Christmas Eve into Christmas, and he's got his son. And this worked out for Iris because Iris was hosting a big Christmas dinner on Christmas Day that was going to have over 20 guests. And so she was like, yeah, take the kids. This will actually work out for me because then I can prepare for this big Christmas dinner I'm putting on for a lot of other douchey people, I'm sure. And so Christmas morning rolls around, and this is what gets posted to Mylan Ross's Facebook feed.
Smiling, and I'm hanging out with Nigel on Christmas Eve. And we're about to embarrass ourselves. We're gonna sing. You ready?
Yeah.
Me. Okay, sorry. You better watch out.
You better not cry.
You better not pout.
I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town. Dope, dope, dope.
He sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows if you've been bad or good. So be good for goodness sake. Santa Claus is coming to town. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah, so very, very happy. Just 2 hours after that video got posted, his ex-wife, Iris, calls him up and says she's going to go pick up the kids. This is around 3 p.m. on Christmas Day. Some of the guests had already begun to arrive for her big party. The guests in attendance that heard her call Mylan said it sounded kind of normal. There wasn't any kind of argument. She sounded pleasant. She wasn't worried at all or anxious. She said, I'm going to go pick up the kids and we'll get this party started. I'll be back in a moment.
Pretty stunning moments caught on video as a man opens fire on police from a third-story apartment after spending hours held up inside with his family. That standoff, though, ending in tragedy. 3 dead, including 2 children. That investigation underway at an apartment complex off 16th Street in Highland. ABC 15's Katie Connor joining us live from the scene this morning. Katie, this is just so horrific. What have you been able to learn so far?
Yeah, this is absolutely heartbreaking. Family friends tell me that the mom was actually going here to pick up her 2 kids from her ex-husband, something a lot of families did yesterday on Christmas. But neighbors here actually reported hearing gunshots around 3:45 in the afternoon. And when officers got here, they found the mom's body in the parking lot. Officers quickly made contact with the suspect, and that's when they discovered at least one of the children had also been killed. They continued negotiating, though, for hours, hoping to find the other one alive.
The suspect began firing shots at the officers. At that time, still looking for the 11-year-old, the officers forced entry into the house. They engaged the suspect in a shootout and took him into custody. That 11-year-old was located. She is also deceased inside the home.
It wasn't a she, it was a he. But again, they misidentified it as a she because he was a little, well, I don't know how they would know he was feminine when he was dead. But anyway, so yeah.
I'm just one person, but there's millions of me out there.
Yeah. So what happened was, according to people that are on the scene, or were on the scene, and according to police, is Iris Ross showed up to gather her children, and she was met with Mylan Ross in the parking lot. People heard a scream and then gunshots when the neighbors, and this was a fancy neighborhood. They both lived in fancy neighborhoods. He was still trying to keep up this image of a fancy boy, even though he was now living off of the 30 grand and the $750 a month from Iris. Little gated community, little gated apartment complex. They ran out and saw him over the body of his deceased wife, rummaging through her things. They didn't think that he was the killer. They said, "Oh, is she okay? Do you need some help?" He pointed the gun at them and said, "No, she's not okay," and they ran away. He then went into the house, barricaded himself inside, and police showed up. There was a standoff for about 6 hours when he was contacted by negotiators because they understood that there were children in the house. He, well, actually, first, before we get to that, he took his dead wife's cell phone and then texted his ex-sister-in-law, so Iris's sister, "I killed Iris and the kids with a gun." He told the negotiator that he was going to kill the kids and they weren't dead if they tried entering the home. Eventually, the Phoenix police sent in a SWAT robot of some sort. I couldn't find any footage or pictures of this. I just read that it was some kind of robot that determined that the baby had been killed. And so the assumption was, well, if he killed the baby, he probably killed the other kid too. They stormed the apartment. One officer was injured in a shootout. They took him without killing him and brought him into custody.
A mother and her 2 children shot dead and a police officer injured in a series of shootings yesterday at a Phoenix apartment complex. Police are clearing the area after finding the woman dead outside.
We went around the block to try from the other side, and every entrance was just blocked off by tons of cop cars, and then we saw some police like holding guns and rifles. We've never seen anything like this before. Like, all of our neighbors seem really normal and nice, and we've never had a problem with anybody here.
Well, the suspect
I'm just one person, but there's millions of me out there.
Inside an apartment for several hours. He was finally taken into custody after a brief exchange of gunfire. Officers finding the bodies of a 10-month-old and an 11-year-old inside. The suspect uninjured. One officer was wounded by shrapnel.
The sound of gunfire and explosions giving way to unthinkable tragedy at a Valley apartment complex. And tonight, police say this is the man behind it all, accused of gunning down his own family on Christmas Day. Tonight, Anthony Ross sitting behind bars, his ex-wife and their 2 kids dead.
That woman's family speaking only to ABC 15's Sonu Wasu. And Sonu, they're understandably just heartbroken.
Yeah, this family is just devastated to hear about this tragedy. Many of them on their way to Phoenix right now as I speak. Now, just a couple of minutes ago, Phoenix police did release the name of the victims involved in this terrible tragedy. And they are 38-year-old Iris Ross, 11-year-old Nigel Ross, and 10-month-old baby Honora Ross, all gunned down at the Highlands apartment complex on 16th Street and Highland on Christmas Day. The suspect is their father, Iris's ex-husband, Anthony Milan Ross. But family members tell me they just know him as Milan. This is video of him facing a judge for the first time, now charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder, also 19 counts of aggravated assault against police officers for allegedly firing at them during the 6-hour standoff yesterday. We are told one officer was hit by shrapnel, but he is doing okay. The victim's family tells me that Ross is a well-known motivational speaker who wrote a book about losing weight with the vegan lifestyle. But the picture you see of him smiling here, a very different face from what the family saw. The Milan that this family knew was very different, very depressed after his divorce, and that divorce, we are told, was finalized in June.
He was making subtle threats that, you know, he would take full custody of the kids, or that next 2018 was going to be a year to remember.
And a year to remember, I guess, is a weird way of putting it, because it's a year that we'll never remember, because they were never alive in 2018. This is the roommate the wife decided to move in with. To give you an idea, again, expanding on this idea that she was this basic bitch white woman, she went on a spiritual retreat, whatever the fuck that means, and met this woman and decided to be roommates after the divorce. So she was living with this woman after meeting at a spiritual retreat.
Father sitting in jail for killing his own children and their mother.
That woman's family getting chilling text messages just moments after the crime on Christmas Day.
I received a text yesterday at 2:52 p.m. my time. I received 2 messages. I received the first one that said, "I just killed Iris and the kids." The second message was with a gun.
And sadly, those were not just empty words. Phoenix police in a standoff with the suspect for hours before discovering the heartbreaking reality.
I'm just one person, but there's millions of me out there.
So that's what happened. Toll paid, I suppose. That was the Christmas call. This was the toll that was paid by all these jingle bells. And it's weird because there's not, you would think there'd be a lot more on this. There's almost no reporting on this. In fact, even though this took place on Christmas of 2017, it's hard to figure out what even like the legal situation is. I couldn't find a single news report talking about his trial. In fact, I found news reports from 2022 saying that his trial was scheduled for 2023, but then no news reports from 2023 talking about his trial having begun. I searched newspapers thinking, well, okay, well, they have to at least mention it. This is like the Christmas Massacre, right? And all I came up with is something that made me believe that he really still hasn't even gone to trial yet. And that was, there was this weird study done by Jewish lawyers. I'm not kidding you. That determined that Arizona disproportionately puts black men to death, like gives them the death penalty when they've killed white women. And I guess that's a bad thing. This Jewish legal group determined that Arizona gives the death penalty to black people that kill white women too often. And so the article that I found that was referencing his case was a group of lawyers, including the lawyer representing him. And this is in 2023. So I presume by 2023, he still hadn't really gone to trial. But the idea was they were going to try him for capital murder. And the death penalty certainly would be on the table for this kind of a crime in Arizona, at least for right now. I'm sure that'll all change as the demographics change. A lot of people don't realize stuff like that. They act like, oh, Mexicans, they're natural conservatives or whatever. No, in Mexico, they don't have the death penalty. In fact, there's a lot of Latin American countries where if you face a death penalty in America, they won't extradite you there. They won't extradite you back to America because they're against the death penalty and they think that it's inhumane, and so you qualify for asylum. And so, the death penalty will not stick around. The death penalty that we need to increase, we need to broaden the application of. I mean, there should be a speed lane, there should be like a carpool lane for the death penalty. And we should just be, and the fact that, like, again, this guy's trial hasn't even started. As far as I can tell, his trial hasn't even started. This was in 2017. Here we are in 2024. It's open and shut, right? It's not like he did plead not guilty at his hearing, but come on, it's open and shut. He admitted to the sister that he killed his family. There's witnesses with him holding the gun, brandishing the gun, running back in the house. He told police negotiators he was going to kill the kids, and then they go in there and they're dead. There's no way he's not guilty. There's no possible way. It's the perfect candidate for the death penalty. It's the perfect candidate for the death penalty because there's no wiggle room. There's no, well, maybe we executed the wrong guy. No, this is the right guy. This is 100% the right guy. And if any crime qualifies you for the death penalty, I mean, half of this crime should get you even 30% of this crime gets you the death penalty. But the reference I found was an article in the Arizona Republic from 2023 where a group of lawyers armed with this study by this Jewish lawyer group saying that the state of Arizona executes too many black guys that kill white women, went to a judge demanding that their clients aren't subjected to racism during their trials, because look, we've this evidence. We don't want to go to trial. We want their charges to be lowered from capital murder to whatever, because we think they're going to be unfairly tried. Again, I couldn't find the results of that. I found articles talking about this hearing. I found articles talking about the hearing and being denied for one of the people. It wasn't this guy. I don't know if the judge was Jewish. Her last name was Cohen. So who knows with that, right? Surprise, surprise, right? A Jewish judge. If nothing else, honestly, if you were to make that change in America, just imagine if you were just to bar Jews from being judges. And why shouldn't you? They have a completely different moral framework. Why would you want people like that adjudicating the law? Why would you want people who believe that you can trick God with a wire around the city. Why would you want people like that adjudicating the law? It makes no fucking sense. Anyway, as far as I can tell, his trial hasn't even started all these years later. So he's still alive and kicking. And I can't, like, again, I couldn't find anything about, I mean, not a sentencing, but just even a trial. I don't even think that process is even gone. Now you could say, well, maybe it's because COVID, the court got backed up during COVID, and I don't know what their excuse is, but who knows what the hell's going on with that. One thing I did find interesting is that the responses that I would randomly come across when researching this horrific crime. And for example, just like it's not just a story about the toll being paid, it's a story about douchey fucking white people. This is her brother, and he lives in Texas and is kind of using his sister's murder as a way of promoting himself. He's doing some food donation charity in Texas and somehow use something completely disconnected from what happened in this situation to promote like his thing. I mean, look at him. I don't know. Douche vibe hardcore on this guy. And it just seems wrong to do that. Like, I'm going to use my sister's murder in Arizona to promote myself and my connection to some, charity for food for homeless black kids, probably. And that's the thing. No one mentions the racial element of this. No one mentions the racial element of this. It's like that doesn't even exist. They have a bunch of these progressive white people remembering the death, the Ross family, Iris and her mixed race kids.
She was very caring, outgoing. She was someone that easily broke down barriers.
And her children, the love of her life.
If you ever saw Nigel on stage, he was in performing arts and he was so talented. If you had a chance to look into that.
That's the sister, Again, surprised these people don't live in Highlands Ranch in Colorado.
That baby girl's eyes and see them sparkle and see what a beautiful, joyous child she was.
To honor the family and the gentle spirit Iris was.
I'm just one person, but there's millions of me out there.
And of course, you gotta have the drum circle. God, if my family had a fucking drum circle to honor my dead, oh God. And then it ranges from this to just like, you guys didn't learn anything. You didn't fucking learn anything, did you? There's a reason why this happened. There's a reason why this all could have been prevented. And instead of trying to actually raise awareness and instead of actually trying to prevent this kind of thing from happening again, you're almost ensuring that it's going to happen again by glossing over the actual reason this happened. But this whole vegan health community, I mean, it's full of such fucking fags. Like, here is another video I found. Like, it's literally the worst kind of white people. It's the kind of white people, I'd rather live in their neighborhood than a black neighborhood, because this is why when people say, would you rather live in a Christian neighborhood or a white neighborhood that's all atheist? It's like, well, still the white atheist neighborhood, don't get me wrong, they're all douchebags and they all suck like this guy does, but at least they're not committing crime. Sadly, it's because they're pussies, but
Sup, compassionate people, welcome to Vegan News. And we're starting the year off with a sad story. I want to start with a kind of disclaimer before I go into this. This may be triggering for some people. Faggots! And also, I never personally liked Anthony Millen Ross. He claimed to be vegan. He was actually plant-based, and he had some views on animals that weren't exactly aligning with faggots. With that said, let's move into the story and what happened with him. Pictured here, he was famous for losing hundreds of pounds and creating a diet, basically. And he treated veganism that way, and that is a big sticking point that is going to matter later in this story as I go into it. On Christmas Day, Anthony posted him and his son singing a Christmas song together. It was pre-recorded a few days prior, and a few hours after that upload, he actually killed. Oh yeah, the fake tears. Make myself the center of the fucking story. Make this somehow about veganism. Like this is the kind of faggot white people we have to worry about. These are the faggots that are making us fucking die out. This fucking faggot right here, where his response to this is,
let's not make this look bad about, it's not a vegan issue. He wasn't really, no, he was. It doesn't have anything to do with veganism, you fucking retard. It doesn't. But let's not talk about what it does have to do with, right? I mean, for fuck's sake. I mean, this was just like astonishing to me that this fucking video existed. Like, oh, I have to make this video. I have to make this about me and tell you about how, like, he's not a real vegan. Don't think that vegans are murderers just because, I mean, just for fuck's sake. I mean, we can't even get them to admit that there's a pattern with black people. They're trying to, like, stop you from thinking there's a pattern with vegan people. It's like, for fuck's sake. And then you go from that to, I found, again, like, I was just looking for responses, or I'm not even looking for responses. I was finding responses while I was looking for other video of this guy. And I came across this weird black, I guess, podcast, where they're basically making excuse, like, this shows the difference. This shows you the difference. All right, you got the white guy, what do you have? The white people find out their fucking sister gets killed. This guy tries to capitalize on it and says how open-minded she was and how fucking beautiful it is. Again, not talking about, like, why it happened or anything. Let's just all forget about that. This guy's talking about how, you know, Mylan's not a real vegan and whatever. I mean, just like the most inane, fucking retarded fucking shit coming from the white people around her. And black people hear about this case. These people don't even have a connection to either one of these people. And their response is, well, I wonder what she did to deserve it.
Like you say you being objective. What's that word? She said she was being compliance or, you know, allowing him to do certain things. But still in all, it was certain things that he wasn't allowed to do, and it was affecting him.
We don't know the details. This is how it goes.
Even if it was corny, he probably wanted sex, and she probably wasn't giving him that. Probably wanted to stay the night. She didn't want to let him do that.
That's a great
point.
It was getting divorced. Like, she didn't want to be in the relationship anymore.
And in his crazy mind, but we talking about...
I'm just one person, but there's millions of me out there.
I mean, so the random black guy response is, he probably killed her because killed his whole family because she won't give him the pussy. That's probably what it is we don't know. We don't know. He probably wasn't giving up the pussy. And so, like, well, I can't blame him, you know, killing his whole fucking, I mean, for fuck's sake. And unfortunately, this is a perfect metaphor for what the fuck's been going on in this country. You got a bunch of pussy faggot white people worrying about fucking veganism getting a bad name, let alone fucking black people. Totally avoiding the obvious. Well, black people are just fucking. Life has no value. You probably wasn't given the pussy. They probably wasn't given the pussy. That's why. Why? Yeah, they probably deserved to die because, like, she wasn't given the pussy. I mean, it's so fucking insane. It's so fucking insane. But this is, unfortunately, these are the modern Christmas carols in America these days. You got this guy murdering his whole family, and really it comes down to this guy. This is Iris's father with his mixed race grandchild, who I'm sure he was super excited to have. Right? I mean, he raised her. Look, patriarchy or not, that's one thing that's your responsibility. If there is a white man that is to blame in this story, it's her father. Because sure, while there weren't the mechanisms, the society around there to reinforce the idea that was probably a bad idea, it was probably a really bad idea to meet some guy like this, a guy who looks like fucking Dr. Dre after he gained the weight. Probably got knocked up. That's probably why they got married so fast. I don't know. And then be his sugar mama. I mean, that doesn't happen in a vacuum. It doesn't happen in a vacuum. You know, it does happen, though, if your dad's sitting there hooting and hollering at the TV when there's sports ball on and wearing jerseys with a black man's name printed on the back and talking about the stats of his favorite sports ball nigger. I don't know if that's how her dad was, but a lot of dads out there are like that. Why wouldn't you want to marry? I mean, dad seems infatuated with black men. Why shouldn't I be? This only turns into this because of the failure of that father. That's the only reason why that happens. See, that's another reason why libertarianism is a fucking cancer on our society. Because it takes away your sense of duty. It's why boomers love it so much. Because they have no sense of duty. And it's why millennials embraced it so much. because they're all about being individuals. And look, it's just spun out of control. People can act like, oh yeah, like, people have got, you're trying to tell me people have gotten less individualistic since the boomers? Give me a fucking break. Now, it's just at a unbelievable level now with cutting off your fucking dick because you feel like something else. Individualism it might have started with the boomers, but it has not like somehow tapered off in any way at all. It's increased 100-fold. No sense of fucking duty. Even if I would, in fact, I know boomers who've had their daughters get mixed up with non-whites who on a personal level were unhappy with it, but determined that they're their own person. They have to make their own decisions. Who am I to tell them how to live their life? You're their fucking parents. And not just the parents, the family. Where was her sister? Where's the mother? I don't know. Mother doesn't seem to even exist in this story that I can tell. Where's all of her liberal friends in Highlands Ranch saying, why are you the sugar mama for some useless black guy who works at Whole Foods? None of that existed. So yes, obviously there's some personal responsibility with this empty-headed hoe that decided to live her life this way, but fuck, everybody failed. Everybody failed. There's a lot of people that think that they need to somehow keep their mouth shut to maintain relationships with people when they see them doing horrible things, making these big mistakes. You're not doing them any favors. All the people that kept their mouth shut about Mylan Ross being a bad idea, they weren't doing Iris any favors. But at least no one called them a racist. Oh.
I'm just one person, but there's millions of me out there.
So that's our Christmas story. We're not doing a big, long, 5-hour fucking stream tonight. I found that story and I just thought it was fascinating because it's like, again, you would think it would be more reported on. You would think that it's got a guy who's like not famous, but he's been on TV. He's been in a James Cameron movie. I mean, it's not like he's nobody. And it wasn't, and it was recent. Like all of this was his whole career was blowing up months, like literally months before he killed his entire family, and nothing. Like there's all these, I found all these news reports of like it happening because you kind of have, you have to report like the Christmas Day massacre where there was a 6-hour standoff with police. Like you can't just not report that. But then there's nothing. There's literally nothing. I mean, they do a little bit of digging. They find out who it was and they kind of, and the secret family news report I found, that was like when they found out about the secret family. This is all within like a month of the incident. And then there's just nothing. No newspaper articles about it. No TV, local news, certainly no national news coverage of it. And this is the kind of thing that happened. I think that one of the reasons why this story went away is because you did have the Black Lives Matter bullshit happening. And this is a bad story to have. This black guy who's as good, as good of an example as you could come up with for a black guy, right? Very white presenting, a vegan fucking black guy wiping out his whole family. Just chimping out and killing his white woman and his whole family. Kind of goes against the narrative. So I think they hushed it up. I think that's why they don't talk about it. I think that's why it's not reported. I think that's why none of you guys have ever heard of it. Maybe, if you're local in Phoenix, maybe you heard of it or something. But, this beyond that little breaking news thing from Fox News that I played, I think that was the extent of it. I think she got 30 seconds on Fox.
Big Tech is furious this tiny $40 sticker exists. It blocks harmful radiation from phones and tablets.
Fox News was the national coverage. There was an article in the Daily Mail that covered, some of the stuff, but that was it, That was it. Just a couple bullet points. It was a catchy headline, Christmas Day Massacre. And again, stripped of all of its racial politics. This couple, Arizona couple, right? An Arizona man kills his family. Anyway, let's take a look at Hyperchats.